All right, we're all haired up, ready to go. What's happening, everyone? All right, some good stuff going on today, everybody. Thanks for joining us. You got it. Everybody hear me? You guys got me on the YouTube feed. If you can hear me, let me know.
And do you have guests coming in today? Our live guests?
Yeah, we got one in the third segment.
Okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Fabian. How we sounding today? We good? We are live at Raiders headquarters for Raiders Rundown. Oh, yes, sir. This is the show that we do that we air on television Saturday night, and we air later today on the Raiders YouTube channel. So you're getting a real behind the scenes look right here at what we do at the headquarters. Thoughts about UNLV versus Cal, Fabian? I don't have many. UNLV has a new coach who won't be coaching the game. So I would assume they're going to play hard and want to go out strong. Hopefully the bigger topic is how many of those kids are going to stay at UNLV and not enter the portal. Yes, I do, Margot. Yes, I do. Talk back. I do. Can you hear me? I don't hear me. Hey, talk back 1, 2, 3. Got it. Got it. And I am not hearing myself in my ear. Is that all right? I'm not hearing myself. I'm not hearing myself in my ears. Is that fine? Check, check, check. Yeah, now I can. Thank you. Okay. And you'll just get in my ear and tell me when to go to Lincoln. I'll probably go 2 or 3 minutes here at the Open. You tell me when.
In the passing game. This guy's got something to him. You see him throw the ball. I mean, you really got to ask yourself, what can he not do? And he's an ultimate team player.
It's hard to overlook the ability and the potential that this young man has.
Welcome to Raiders Rundown. I'm JT, thrilled to be live from Raiders headquarters. What a day on the Raiders YouTube channel and all over the globe throughout Raider Nation. Appreciate you always joining us. Got a monster show lined up. The Jaguars are in town. We'll preview them with head coach Antonio Pierce. Also, Lincoln Kennedy will join us in a few minutes, and Paul Gutierrez will be our NFL insider from ESPN. Levi Edwards in the second hour. We appreciate you being here as the Raiders are coming off Monday Night Football, a loss to Atlanta 15-9, a spirited game, came down to the wire again, no quit with the Raiders. You've heard that all year long. Raiders playing hard, Raiders playing tough, next man up. We've heard that for months now, but the Raiders are trying to finish the season with some momentum here, and that's where we're at. And it's been a tough drought for the Silver and Black, but the players in the building are practicing as I speak. The coach is ready to roll, and again, for all Raider fans who are tuning in, and continue to come to Silver and Black Productions for all of our content. We greatly appreciate it because without you being out there, we don't have shows. So we want to thank you and happy holidays and have a great holiday season as we get rolling. The juice was really good on Monday night. Eric Allen and I were at the Torch. A lot of Raider fans there, holiday spirited fans. Atlanta had fans there. Kirk Cousins didn't play well, but Atlanta won. They stay in the playoff race in the NFC South for the Raiders. Now they play a Jaguar team with only one more win than the Silver and Black. So as everybody talks about draft picks in the offseason, there's still 3 games left. So Jacksonville at home, New Orleans, which is a great Raider destination for a road trip, and then the Chargers, the final game of the year. There's a lot of things we're going to cover in this hour on the show. For me, the big point is getting Brock Bowers some milestone targets and catches coming up in this game, and to see what the Raiders can do with their running game. Sincere McCormick goes on IR. Wow. Another Raider injured. Another Raider gets injured who had a great opportunity in front of them. This was the year of injuries, and you don't prep for them. The players are in great shape. They train around the clock, and then the injury bug pops up. A lot of times it's just a fluke. You get rolled up on, you get an ankle injury, something happens, and you're out for the year. And that's been the case for the Raiders this year. Look, there are a lot of other teams that are injured. Right, the Lions probably have more injuries than anybody, and they might be the best team in football. 49ers went to the Super Bowl last year. They're a great team with a great roster. All of their stars are hurt. So the Niners will not make the playoffs this year. And the Raiders catching the injuries at the time that they did, the quarterback's going down. Desmond Ridder gave it his best in the last game here. Aiden O'Connell has been fighting through injuries all year long. And obviously we look at the future, Carter Bradley, and what the Raiders can do to finish up this season. I will tell you this, from talking to Rich Gannon, which we do on every Monday, Gannon always says, finish the season the right way. Okay, I know there's a lot of fans there worried about a draft pick. Fans are out there wondering what's going to happen in March and April. We can't do that type of programming here yet. We got games left. We understand what you're going through and what you're thinking. But I thought Rich Gannon, former MVP, summed it up beautifully. End the season on positive momentum. And for me, that positive momentum is no doubt the young play of the defensive line. The defensive line has been shattered due to injuries. We haven't had Malcolm Kuntz all year. Max Crosby ends the year on IR. Christian Wilkins has been hurt all year. So the next players up have been playing. And that's something positive to take away. And then you got the players that are trying to make a Pro Bowl push, like Robert Spillane. And we'll spend some time talking about him with Antonio Pierce. He's someone that needs to make a Pro Bowl here. A.J. Cole's one of the best punters out there. I thought special teams had a very poor performance in their last game. They need to clean that up. So there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about. We're going to be real with you. We're going to be honest with you, as we always are. But understand there's still more football to play. And one of the greatest players to play in the modern era of the Raiders is Lincoln Kennedy. And he kicks off the show every week. And Link, it was good to see you. Obviously, the last game was tough because if the final ball is caught by Jacoby in the end zone, he got a good look at it. The Raiders win that game. But I thought they put up a good fight, especially the defense, Lincoln, as they show up week in and week out.
Defense had a tremendous fight. Good to be with you, JT. And look, here's the thing. We've known all this season that the defense is going to be the strength of this team, and it showed up. Even without the great Max Crosby, they found a way to get things done, and they turned over. They had the ball, and Atlanta had the ball 4 times in the Raiders' territory and only came away with 6 points. I thought that was big, thumbs up for the defense and the way they played. They played well all season. It's just not enough to get the wins that the Raiders desperately need.
All right, let's get to Max Crosby and Max being gone for the year. And this hurts because we know how much Max likes to play. I know how much you love to broadcast his games. That's a big part of what you do at this stage in your career. He's given this organization everything. I think it was a prudent decision for him because if you don't tell him to have the surgery or he doesn't get that advice, he's going to play and he could further injure that ankle that could take away his offseason, his recovery, his training. And we know he does everything from MMA to boxing to everything he does in the offseason. So, Lincoln, do you think it's smart with the calendar on what Max Crosby decided to do?
I thought it was incredibly mature for Max Crosby to realize that this season was over and that he was playing injured and that he could do more damage to the rest of his future of his career than good if he tries to go back out there. Look, it's certainly amicable as a former player to see other guys want to give their all and not let up, even in spite of the team odds being as low as they are for the Raiders. But for the most part, he's a true champion, and I think that's a true test for that locker room. That's the reason why a lot of other guys kind of rose up this past game. We've only seen them on sample size.
Lincoln, I'm really excited about the young players on the defensive line. We talked about Chase on players getting other opportunities. A couple of guys flashed in the last game. And these games down the stretch, especially with some of the opponents and what they're playing for, when they say they pin their ears back and they're just going to get after the quarterback, there's a lot of guys, the young players, who have to play in this scheme that Patrick Graham has. And it's a very solid scheme, but they're also able to go out there and make plays. I believe that Antonio Pierce, the defensive head coach, and Patrick Graham want these young players to shine, put them in the best situation that they can. Maybe they get some stats here, they get some momentum, and they can make the team next year, come off the practice squad, and fight for jobs in this league. Kyrie.
As you talked about in the opening of the show, we'll be able to discuss that more in shows to come. But for right now, winning is the premium. Winning is the emphasis that these players and these coaches want to see. Nobody likes to lose. And I've been on many teams that failed through the season. I've been on a 3-13 team. I've been on a 4-12 team. I know how it is and when guys start to give up. But one thing that's gratifying, and I mentioned before, the young players that are getting their opportunity to shine. It's unfortunate what happened to Sincere McCormick, but he was a young undrafted rookie that wanted to try to make himself, did some good things, just couldn't finish off the season. We're still seeing a lot of these young guys that are really getting their time to shine, come in and start and have an impact in the Raiders games.
Well, you've been there talking about Tyree Wilson on the broadcast to me for years since he's come in here, and you've been honest. You've been honest about his slow start to his career and what, he's fighting off an injury when he starts his career. He needs to become more of an alpha, and now we're seeing a better Tyree Wilson. What are you particularly seeing when you call the games and then put on the tape?
Physically, he's a freak. And that's the reason why the Raiders drafted him in the first round. They knew what they were getting into when they picked him. They knew he was injured. They knew it was going to be a slow process. I'm happy for Tyree to finally get his groove and finally get into a rhythm. He's learning how to play on this level. It's not easy. You're not taking on the same offensive tackles that he had to take on in college. It's different. And these guys are much more premium, especially when you're talking about where he plays when the defense is right, the offense is left. You're playing against sort of the premier pass blocker in the left tackle. But I'm happy for Tyrese. I think he's come along a long way. A good portion of the way, and he still has some way to go. He has to develop, in my opinion, JT, he has to develop a better second move, a better counter move. I think it'll come. He'll just continue to work on his craft.
Lincoln, that's a big part of football, isn't it? You just
Absolutely.
said it. When you're on a team that's not winning and you're not in the playoff hunt, you got to get something out of the end of the year. There's got to be some things that are happening that bring momentum. You heard what I said about Rich Gannon. I mean, Rich is like you played together. He wants to win every game.
Absolutely.
We know about the draft pick. We've talked about it. Fans come up to you and talk to you about it every day. But, you got to be in these games, and the Raiders have been in every game. There's just a fumble. There's a block punt. There's a block kick. And I know you were disappointed with that, too, because I heard it on the broadcast. I played it on my show that the special teams breakdowns in a game like that, it's just too big on Monday Night Football to make mistakes like that.
We haven't seen it really all season. It really was the worst game the special teams have played, and still the Raiders were in it, had a chance at the end. You don't normally see that. You don't always have the luxury of seeing that. But the Raiders are a team that are still trying to find their way. And it's my opinion, JT, that they've got to figure out how to play near perfect football. I don't know what that consists of with the team that we have on paper, especially when you talk about the amount of injuries, but they've got to play near perfect football because they can ill afford to give up a turnover. They can ill afford to have a block punt. They can ill afford to recover a punt on the 3-yard line with no running game and can't get it out of harm's way. You end up giving up a safety. They cannot have those plays. If you take those plays away, the game outcome might have been a little bit different. We might be having a different conversation right now.
Lincoln Kennedy is our guest. Let's get to the Jaguars secondary. They had a really tough spot in this last game against Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers threw for 283 and 3 touchdowns. Devontae Adams, former Raider. I mean, this is what you dream of for Devontae. 9 receptions, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, 71. They tore them up 6 games this season, Lincoln. Jacksonville has allowed a receiver to have 100-plus yards receiving. That's tied for most games in the NFL. The Raiders have got to attack this secondary. You got a young player on the outside who can get upfield quickly. And then we got Brock Bowers, the elephant in the room, who only got 6 targets in the last game and 3 receptions. You can just tell that this is a matchup that the Raiders can exploit.
We'll be very careful, JT, of what you asked for, because we saw it in the last game when Desmond Ridder tried to force the ball to Brock Bowers and double coverage was interception. That's what you've got to be aware of. I understand that Brock Bowers is a star. I understand that Jacoby Myers is a star in the making. I understand that we want to have other guys sort of rise and create their own pattern to success. But you got to be smart about it. You cannot force the ball. There were plenty of opportunities in the Atlanta secondary to strike. However, protection was an emphasis. Protection was an issue, not having enough protection. And Desmond Ridder, in my opinion, not really feeling comfortable with the protection up front. The reason why I bring that up is because what I'm concerned about most in watching this Jaguars film, their pass rush. They've got an optimal pass rush that can get after a quarterback, especially 2 guys that I know that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But their secondary has been marred. There are holes to get open, but you've got to give protection to your quarterback.
Well, as always, Lincoln Kennedy's nailing it because Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen are 2 of the best out there. That pass rush this year hasn't shown up that well. They ranked 28th in total sacks, but we said that about Atlanta. Atlanta was dead last, and Atlanta ended up getting 4. So I think the protection that's going to be here, especially from the veterans, with Sincere McCormick out, and you look at Abdullah and Madison, who's pretty good when it comes to that too. I don't know, like in the offensive line, that's why we have you on every week, because you look at the tape, and some games PFF gives them a good grade, other weeks they don't. And I can tell you one thing, they seem to have the guys they want to go with to the end of the year. I don't know who's going to be back next year. There's a lot of contract status and all of that, but this will be a good test because these Jaguar edge rushers, those guys who wear the 40s, are coming around the edge and they're going to pin their ears back. They want to have big games.
And that's huge for a number of reasons. One reason is because you have to keep a back and a tight end in, or you have to have max protection, which limits the amount of guys that can go out on the pass route. And when it comes to the tight end position, unless you have Mayer in there helping to chip out, and you want to put Brock Bowers, say, wide split left or right, that's the only way that you're going to be able to free him up, because otherwise you got to give him protection responsibilities. Same thing goes for the back. Now, the reason why I bring that into play is because I've seen the quarterbacks, whomever they are, Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ridder in this last game, I've seen the quarterbacks not really go through their progression, go through maybe half their progression, and then want to take a check down or want to throw a flare route. Now, we've had some success with that, JT, but it's not something that you can live by. It's not something bread and butter that you can go by. So my thing is this, is that you've got to find a way to create a little bit of a comfort zone for your quarterback in that pocket to be able to survey down the field. There are opportunities down there, but you've got to protect them.
Yeah, we'll wait for the coach to make it official later in the week. It's a short week, but I watched Aiden O'Connell warm up. Eric Allen and I were down there, and he looked good. He was running around. I mean, he looked really good, but again, that'll be a coach's decision coming up here. I just think that at this point in the season for the Raiders, we know that their passing game is much better than their running game. When they had the safety trying to run it out of the shotgun at the goal line, that I didn't think that was a smart play. You just throw it 5 yards to Brock, and if he's not there, throw it out of bounds and punt. The Brock Bowers storyline is really important because there's a player on Jacksonville. Everybody talks about Brock, and they should. He should be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Not so fast. Brian Thomas Jr., 64 receptions, 956 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He wants that award too. And he's coming in there, and if he has a 10-reception game, Strange, their tight end in the last game, had 11 receptions. It's the first time in almost 2 years, that a wide receiver and tight end duo had that number, okay, double digits in a game. I was shocked when I heard that, thinking of Kelsey and all the guys that he's played with. No, it's these two guys last week. So I'm a big believer. If it works 1 week, do it again. Run the same plays. Raiders better be ready for that.
Well, Mark Jones is playing pretty well in lieu of Trevor Lawrence being down injured for the rest of the season. So he's trying to prove himself well. Yeah, they're definitely going to come out firing. I think that the Jaguars, of course, they want to play like Atlanta did, where they want to play that run. And if it's taken away, they have some opportunities to pass. But I'm hoping that the Raiders can sort of mimic that sort of wide receiver tight end combination that we've seen other teams exemplify around the league or utilize around the league over the past couple of years. They're not there yet because they're still trying to develop a scheme, overall identity amongst this team.
Yeah, as we're looking at our feed on YouTube, you can see this. If you're watching, if you're listening, we'll tell you it's Mac Jones. And Mac Jones has been around a bunch, and he can make plays. And, you know, Lincoln, it's tough. He played at such a high level at Alabama. He was a high draft pick. He played well for the Patriots. I mean, when you have to replace Tom Brady, we don't know anybody who knows that type of pressure except for this guy. Now it looks like he's going to bounce around the league. He's actually from the Jacksonville area, one of the suburbs there. And he's playing not for this backup job for next year. He's playing to play somewhere else. He wants to start. He wants to have – look at what we've seen. We've seen with Baker Mayfield bouncing around. We saw it with Sam Darnold. I put Mac Jones in that same category. He might not be as good as Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield, but his story and arc reminds me of that. He's going to be a backup, then he's going to play well, and then he's going to start somewhere in the league. Or maybe Jacksonville's his home behind Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence, that's a tough spot for him too because the fans there have seen enough of him, and he hasn't been playing well as of late. They got a quarterback problem, and this guy could stabilize it for him.
Well, I'll piggyback that by saying that, look, because I know from experience, you're probably not going to always find the right home in your first landing spot. There are plenty of opportunities around there. And in words of the great Steve Wisniewski, back when we played together, he said, look, when you put stuff on film, there are 31 other teams out there that you could possibly be playing for. So you want to make sure you have a good outing. I think all these guys are playing for their jobs and including their futures because we've learned a lot from today's athlete, JT. You follow this just as much as I do. Coming out of college and into the pros, I've often scratched my head and pondered, what's going to motivate a guy? Because now you're getting paid in college, and now you come into the league and get paid. And it's not like you're talking about chump change, but even a starter in the National Football League is going to make a high 6 figures, possibly 7 figures. What's their motivation? And it's got to be personal. It's got to be the fact that you want to be a starter. You got to drive out that inner athlete. And one of the things that I appreciate most about this coaching staff, that what the Raiders have right now, AP and his staff, for the most part, they don't have the players. And they know it. They understand. We don't have the players. We're missing some pieces. But we can go out there and fight and compete. I think you've seen that out of a Sam Darnold, out of a Baker and stuff like that. You're seeing those guys going around the league trying to find their place. And when they do, you make the best of your outing. And that's exactly what we see.
It's interesting, Lincoln. Jack Jones had an unbelievable soundbite in the locker room. He admitted that he's biting on that, stop and go, and he's biting on those out routes. And he said it as he was getting dressed in the locker. He didn't have to wait and hear it. And I think the secondary, they got to fix that because you got young players in the secondary. And a lot of times I see them in a soft zone, and teams are getting a 10-yard cushion. But then I see them trying to jump routes and trying to make plays here. As you look at the secondary here, other than Trayvon Merrick going forward, Isaiah Powell-Miles better tackler than he is, trying to knock down a pass or intercept the ball. But the corners are going to be an issue here because Tom Telesco's got a lot of money, and there's a lot of good players coming out in the draft, and there's veterans around the league that are all going to want to play in Las Vegas for a bunch of different issues here. I think it's an important final 3 games for these cornerbacks to prove that they can play and have a shot at playing here next year.
In this system, you have to make up your mind very early as a DB. Am I going to be aggressive? How aggressive am I going to be? Because there's not much behind you. Don't have a deep safety look for the most part. Sometimes you play with 2 high safeties. But look, Atlanta came in with the instance, and they were playing 2 high safeties. And the theory used to be when I played, it was like if you have 2 safeties in the box, you want to run the ball. When there's 1 safety in the box, you want to throw the ball. That's sort of the formula for success for offenses. And you kind of get away from that when you don't have that threat. So when you're playing against the Raiders, you have that threat because you're more times than not, you're going to have only a single high safety. So you got to have aggressive corners in the box to play those lower routes. The problem is with the shorter routes, JT, you get beat. There's no one else. So if Jack Jones bites on that slant and go and he gets beat, that's it. That's a touchdown. And you want to see the error in your ways. Conversely, moving forward, if you back up and play soft, then you're giving up those hitches, those stop routes over and over again. So there's a fine mix that you've got to play when you're out there.
Lincoln, with about a minute to go, the last thing I want to end it with, I was on the sidelines and I saw George Atkinson and Fred Biletnikoff on the bench. And I just stood back and didn't interrupt them. I said, that's what being a Raider is all about. These are 2 guys that played with each other in the early 70s, and they're still best friends. And then they show Howie in the stands, Darren McFadden on the sideline. You're an alumni. You were there. Bill Pickel lit the torch. What does it mean to you? This team is struggling now. They look towards you for leadership as this team is finishing the stretch, and the fans want to know what the team is playing for.
Over my right shoulder is one of the more fonder moments in my life is when I lit the torch back in Oakland. I love being a Raider. You know that, JT. Everyone who knows me knows it. Raider Nation knows it. I want this team to be successful. I want this organization to be successful. I wanted to do it the right way because I wanted to have its staying power, lasting power. I'm hopeful that we could find a plan and make it right. What it means to me to be a Raider is always committed to excellence. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. You and I, we do it in our job every day that we go out there, we do it. And we want to see people around us reciprocate that and duplicate that. And that's what I'm hoping for this organization. So what it means to be a Raider, it's a very fondness and a very strong passion, a pride in my heart. I will fight for this team to the end of my breath. And I'm hoping that this team finds a way to get it right. In the meantime, we're going to be ambassadors to the Raider Nation. That's what we do. We convey the information from facility and organization to the people. That's what we do. I'm going to continue to do my best, just like I know you're going to continue to do your best. That's the Raider way.
You're the best, Link. See you this weekend. Thank you.
Gotcha, JT.
Lincoln Kennedy, he's so great. Wanted to hear that from him. I think everybody can hear that if you listen to our lineup on Raider Nation Radio weekdays. The morning tailgate, 7 to 10 a.m., all Pacific time. Rich Eisen, 10 a.m. to noon. I'm on every day, noon to 2, and Q Myers on after me from 2 to 5 p.m., and he programs it all and does a great job. When we come back, the head coach of the Silver and Black, Antonio Pierce, on what the Raiders need to do to have a couple of big efforts down the stretch. I'm going to ask him about Brock Bowers, the Jaguars, the quarterback situation as the Raiders take on Jacksonville this Sunday at Allegiant Stadium. All right, everybody, give me a minute. I'll get that other microphone working. I didn't have the mic on, so no big deal. Take it here. So yeah. Yep.
We're about
So
to
good.
run it up now, or?
Yeah, just have it up. I have the headset on this microphone here, so we're good. You know what I mean? We did that, remember we did that last week, a couple of weeks ago?
You're using this guy.
Yeah, that's
Got
it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I think
that's
we use this microphone.
I could use that one if it's
Nope, we'll just keep-
This is the raw feed. We call this JT the Brick Raw, the raw feed. We'll be right back. This hour is just for fun, behind the scenes type stuff.
So this should be it right here. Just this
Yeah,
local-
that's it. Yeah, as long as it's on. I'll hear it.
We don't, yeah.
We don't hear that. We just want to hear the audio going through the headset. That's it.
Cool.
Perfect. Perfect.
Well, you want to test it real quick if you want to?
No, I'm fine. It works. Yeah. They're going to hear Pierce, coaches coming through now. So
Okay.
that coach,
So anytime you, yeah, it's just this, the one that says local,
yeah.
that'll give you more of what you're hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was on. And the way to have it on is to have it on, right? Like, or does that not matter? Because it's coming out of that headset.
If it's coming out of the, though, you should still be coming out of the headset.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be on?
Because I can still,
I don't know. I just,
is it post fader? Hold on, that's a good question. Output volume. We could leave it muted here, but as long as I turn up the default post fader, right? Don't get the regular left feed. So we'll just mute it here and then I'll write it,
yeah, just keep, leave.
the microphone up.
Yeah, going to my
Yeah,
Yeti.
he wants,
Yep. Yep, we're
keep it
good.
muted here.
Yep.
Just turn up local, okay, but I don't need to actually put the fader up, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so yeah,
Okay,
it's
yep,
on there
perfect.
and locals all the way
Yep,
up.
we're good.
Cool.
Perfect, thank you. All right, we got Paul Gutierrez coming in. Paul G, as we call him, Paul G. Paul will be available next. So yeah, this is JT Raw Feed, the raw feed.
Celebrate 65 seasons of Raiders football. Be a part of our legacy with a special edition brick featuring the exclusive 65th anniversary logo. Get your brick installed at Allegiant Stadium along with a replica for your home or office. Order now and support the Raiders Foundation, benefiting military and veterans wellness initiatives and youth development. Secure your place in Raiders history today at RaidersFoundationBricks.com.
Head coach Antonio Pierce joins us. Coach, let's get into the Jaguars. And Doug Peterson was a good quarterback, really good play caller, a Super Bowl champ. Tell us about him.
I mean, really good. I mean, obviously, he's gone through the ranks as a player, assistant coach, coordinator, done it all. He's been underneath some great head coaches. Andy Reid played for some great coaches. And you can see it, a testament to his team. I mean, each and every week, they're still battling, just like us, right? Records are very similar and dealing with the same situations, just trying to find a way to win.
Trevor Lawrence went down, and we're familiar with Mac Jones. What do you see with him on film? He played pretty good last week in their loss. Good pocket passer, and he can make every throw on the field.
Yo, listen, he's first round drafted, right? Pick. He's played a lot, played in New England. They brought him here. Obviously, he's taking a back seat to Trevor's, and every time he's got an opportunity, he's put him in position to win games. They were up for majority of that game last week against the Jets. I mean, obviously, big time arm to make the throws, doesn't get rattled, has a little moxie to him, ability to move around and scramble. So we got to be keyed on certain things that he does and certain tendencies that we can take advantage of as well.
Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. Bigsby's having a big year. So I got to give them credit. They nailed it. A lot of teams want to have two backs. You have it here when healthy. They have it. And the big guys inside, and then Etienne can make plays on the outside and catch the ball.
Explosive running game, both backs. I mean, inside, outside. I mean, you give them a crease, and I mean, obviously they turn on the jets really quick. So we got to do a good job of really, limiting those running lanes, creating space, playing knockback, playing with extension, getting off blocks, because it's going to take more than one guy to make these tackles. And both running backs really complement each other really well. And like you hit on, in the passing game, very dynamic. They can do a lot of stuff. You got to treat them as a specialty, just like what we saw last week with Bijan Robinson. Yeah. I mean, one of those guys that you got to really have all eyes on when he's in open field.
Ryan Thomas Jr. is having a big year, just like Brock. Their numbers look almost identical. And then they're Strange, their tight end, had 11 receptions. That's the first time a duo has done that in close to 2 years, a tight end and a wide receiver. They'll probably want to go back to that again. What do you see with them two?
No, those are two guys that, obviously we got circled downstairs in our defensive staff room and with the players that we have to take away. First round talent in Thomas, you can see big, strong, physical, vertical guy. A lot of yak there. Right? It's going to take guys to get him down. Our DB's going to have to do a good job of wrapping up when he does make some catches. Strange now, quietly kept. You just watching film, and it just keeps popping up now.
Yeah.
Really good tight end, good football player, both in the run game, passing game, great matchups there. So we got to move him around a little bit, get him off of his track. It makes it difficult for the quarterback to get to those passing lanes.
Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. So when they didn't need a quarterback, they got a pass rusher because they had Trevor Lawrence. They seem to be similar to what you're doing here in Las Vegas when Max is healthy, Kuntz. Get those edge rushers right and let them be great for years to come and keep them together. What do the Jags look like on tape up front?
Yeah, it's scary when you look at those two outside linebackers, 44 and 41. You want to do everything you can to keep the ball away from them, but obviously tremendous talent, play hard, length, ability to rush a pass, disruptor, game changers for us. So we got to get chips, everything we can, slide the line, identifying, and then also they drop in coverage. So they do a good job of moving these guys around. So we call them Waldos, figure out where 44 and 41 are at all times.
Let's talk about your young defensive line. Now with Max out, I want to get to Max as we wrap it up, but what are you seeing with their preparation, their film study? They're coming into the building every day. You're moving around a lot of pieces, and they're popping on game day.
Yeah. It's really a credit to our staff, but then also our veteran players, Max, Crosby, and Christian Wilkins, because they set the standard of what the play is of the Raiders, the Raider way, right? How we practice, how we operate, how we study, how we go about our business. Just the routines they go out there pre-practice, getting their bodies ready and getting their minds right, hands, feet, eyes, before practice starts. And now, given the opportunity, these young guys are really stepping up. Carter, Jonah, Tyree Wilson. I mean, these are guys, some of these guys wasn't even on our roster in training camp.
Yeah.
Right? Think about that.
It's nuts, yeah.
And I looked at the D-line today, I'm like, damn, what happened to my group? They're all gone. But these young guys are taking advantage of the opportunity, and I think we found some really diamonds in the rough there, and they just keep making plays. And again, it's not the most splashiest plays, but when you watch the body of work, they're the reasons why we're in those games like last week against the Falcons where we're fighting to the very end, and they're making the plays and they're making most of their opportunities. Again, it's credit to the coaches, them buying in, and more importantly, these young guys taking advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm really happy you're sharing that with us because the fans don't know about the veterans who are hurt and where they're like.
They're building every day.
Right. And when the young players are sponges and they're looking up to these great players, and you can see the growth as you put on the tape.
Listen, it was nothing great. Obviously, we didn't have Max on the sideline. Yeah. He's going through what he's going through. But Christian Wilkins on the sideline. And it's like, wasn't playing. Wish we had 94 out there in pads, but hearing him coach, hearing him encourage his players in the building every day. He's been on IR since, week 5?
Yeah.
But he's been in the building every day. That's the culture. That's the standard here now with them guys, Malcolm Kuntz, Crosby, Marcus Epps being around. Gardner's in the building. He was in after the game in the locker room. So it's just good. Most times guys go to IR, what they do? They disappear. Right. That's not the culture. That's not the way of life here. And it's really a testament to our staff, our players, the team of totally buying in. Win, lose, or draw, that it takes all of us.
We'd like to get Robert Spillane in the Pro Bowl. I think he's done enough.
What are you talking about? It's 2 years in a row now.
Yeah.
Pro Bowl caliber.
That's why we got to talk about
I got to cut you off on this one.
Yep.
He's one of the best linebackers in football.
Great.
When we signed him, the biggest knock was pass coverage. All he's done is intercept the ball.
Yeah.
Make plays in the passing game. Been a leader. Been one of the more instrumental players of why our defense has been consistent with all the injuries, all the stuff going on. He's a tentacle to Patrick Graham out there on the field. All the checks, so much we put on his plate. Not only he's doing that, getting the other 10 guys right and ready, but damn, he's handling his business too. And that was a huge play in the third quarter, right? So hopefully he got a swing. And again, the thing about it, and you don't hear it, you don't see it enough, but I wish you could listen, just have him mic'd up 24/7. The most positive, encouraging, no flinching, no blinking mindset that you can have as an example, a captain, a leader of your team. He is Pro Bowl worthy. He's one of the better linebackers in the league. I'm not saying that. If I watch from afar, I'd be like, damn, I want 41 on my team. And I'm glad he's on ours.
Is it frustrating as a coach when you see the Pro Bowl voting? Because some players care. They all care about it. For some, it's financial, but it's also prestige to have that at the end of your career. And he's a guy, as you said, should have been a Pro Bowler earlier.
Yeah, I mean, listen, sometimes because of the record, right?
Yeah.
We are what we are. We're 2-12, and the guys that's winning, they get all the accolades. But I think if you really just look down and watch the body of work, and when I say body of work, I'm talking about all 14 games this year. He's been consistently showing up. What was it, 5-6 games straight with 10-plus tackles? The game we had in Baltimore, game-changing interception plays, sacks. Hell, forget the rougher the passer, person fouled a quarterback the other day. That was game-changing there on 3rd and 4. We're going to get the ball back with 2:40 left, right? So just so many moments that he's played in critical moments on 3rd down, in the red zone, in situational football where we needed him to step up making a play. He's done it.
Last one with the player who's playing Brock. The targets, I know, was disappointing not to get him the ball as much. 3 receptions in this game. There's a lot of milestones coming up, but the other team gets paid to stop him. So this is really important here going forward for the fans. What can you tell us about Brock, the targets, and getting him going these last couple
One,
of
we're going to
games?
hit those milestones. I'll make sure that the next 3 games, win, lose, or draw, we're going to hit those milestones, and we want those with wins as well. That's a good part about Brock because he doesn't care about the individual awards. He just wants to win, man. You talk about an ultimate competitor. That's him, and he gets frustrated, and as we all are. You know, we target him 6 times, only 3. We need more. We're always going to be in double digits with him. We're not going to hide that. He's the best player on our team and one of the best players in the game. So you find a way to get the ball, move him around. That's going to be the objective this week. But, man, more than anything else, is just a competitor. This dude wants to win. He wants to do anything it takes. I keep telling Mike, don't worry about being a fullback, a blocker, doing certain things in the run game. Coach, whatever I need to do to help us win.
Last one, let's end with Max because it's not the end of Max, but a lot of fans are really disappointed. He's doing the right thing. We haven't talked to you about that yet. Just tell us about how he's doing and the loss for your team and what it means going forward.
I don't know how many players in the league, even myself included, when I played, they can play with a high ankle sprain since week 2. And that's all he's done. Missed 1 game. Couple practice here or there, show up 6-7 games in a row, 100%, all snaps. What Max means not just to our team, but to our organization is the pure example of what a Raider looks like.
You got to get that portal going.
First one in the building, last one leaves, encouraging, community, father, role model, leader, not afraid to speak up, making other people uncomfortable around him. You know, and the best thing that I appreciate, one thing I really appreciate about Max is just his openness to make himself vulnerable. And I think as he's grown as a man, as a leader, as a captain of this team, he's done that throughout the building. And that makes it, for a guy that's so tough and rugged, right, and goes through all the pains and aches that he does, he exemplifies everything that you want a football player and a Raider to look like.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck.
Thank you.
Left at the 2-minute warning.
That's awesome.
It was pretty cool. But, yeah, I mean, that.
Too bad they weren't, the coaching staff wasn't focused on the game.
Is that what it felt like?
That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. The first 3 quarters or so, I just like they weren't prepared. First half especially, like he wasn't prepared. And then if he's accepting the job 48 hours later.
You know, it's interesting to say that. We continue to tell my son went to Oklahoma and Lincoln left. They lost Bedlam and they were on the bus. It's not a plane, it's a bus from Stillwater back to Oklahoma. He was done. And he literally was in SC. As the kids not only played their final game, but they played their biggest rival.
Yeah, strange.
And you already took the job, you already got the flight, you already got your coaches with you, and you're trying to coach the guys at halftime.
It's a bad scene.
But, you know, it's the business side
That's
of
what
it
it
going
is.
forward, yeah. All right. Headset should be good. We'll unmute you right here. Yeah, it should be the one there. Yep. What's your plans for the holidays with the Wednesday, Christmas? And
I'll go tomorrow.
we'll go for 2 months or home.
Take a family trip out of it.
You gonna bring them with you?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And Zach's 20th birthday that week.
Oh.
Not 21, but 20.
Oh, that's one place you don't have to worry about. There's not gonna be someone carding him at 20 at the door. my son is 21 and he's a senior at ASU and he's interested in going to that game. Yeah, in Atlanta, right? But it's like, it's not the problem of getting them. It's not the problem going to the game because they got student tickets.
Sure.
It's the problem of hotels,
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, Atlanta, not cheap. So I told him if he wants to go, he can go, but it's a wild story, man. He's graduating in May, and they were terrible in the Pac-12. They picked last in the Big 12 when they went
Right.
the senior year. I mean, you have great memories of the Rebels with the
Yeah.
hoops.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
I hear like this.
we're good.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
All right. Again, I'm not hearing myself. Other than the talk back. Yep, good, perfect. Yeah, I can hear myself. Thank
There it
you.
is.
Yeah, what a game Devontae had against Jacksonville. Oh my God. That's like,
Yeah,
it's gotta be one of his greatest games.
I would imagine.
Yep.
Yeah, good time for it too. You're a Jets fan.
Little too late, huh?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yankees getting Bellinger.
Take advantage of that short porch on the field.
If he doesn't strike out, Trimmer strikes out all the time.
He does.
Yeah, he strikes out a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We continue to tell you everything about the Raiders. Now they play hard. We know that. You know that. There's no quit this team.
He's just been showing up each and every week. And sometimes it's not the most glamorous stats, but it's all the little things he's doing great.
I love it when guys take full advantage of their opportunity. Chase on is doing just that. This guy, when you watch him play, he's a football player. Where they're able to put him on the field, it just makes it limitless.
Welcome back to Raiders Rundown. What a pleasure it is to have Paul Gutierrez, who joins us from ESPN in studio. Great to have you. Let's start off with Monday Night Football. It's a short week. The energy in the building seemed to be there. The Raiders defense showed up again, but special teams had an off night.
Special teams, there's a lot of bizarre things that happened in that game, JT, because that was one of the areas of the three tiers of the game, right? That you never really had to question as the year went on. Strange, a fair catch inside the 5-yard line, letting guys just run through and block kicks. It was something we hadn't seen all year long, and if you don't see it, maybe it's a different outcome in the game. But here we are, last stretch of the season, and new things are starting to pop up.
You have tremendous you're an insider with this team, and you have great access to the team. When you're in the locker room after the game compared to practice, what do you notice?
You know what's interesting, and I've written this for a piece that's coming out later this week, is where they are right now. They've lost 10 straight games. It's their longest in-season losing streak since they opened 0-10 back in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think that you'd walk into the locker room and you'd see a lot of dismay, a lot of guys checking out, a lot of guys giving up. You don't feel that. You feel more like they're kind of stunned, that they're putting in the work. They're watching the film. They're trying their hardest. I know that doesn't mean lots of fans that are paying their money to go to the games and that are invested, but they seem more confused that what the work they're putting in isn't translating into wins. So it just seems like there's this weird vibe of, look, they're putting in the work, but it's not really translating into wins.
I think you could say that about a lot of teams. Now,
Yeah.
there's a lot of 3-win teams, and the Giants had 2 wins, and the Raiders and the potential for the first-round pick. I want to get to Bowers. I was really, I would say, borderline upset that he didn't get the targets that he did, considering the opponent. When they were back up against the end zone on the safety, that's a Brock 5-yard in route. You just get the ball out of there with him. And the targets, the lack of targets from Desmond Ridder in that game to the receivers until the second half, I just didn't understand that. And with Brock and these milestones coming up, you just heard the coach, and he's making sure that he gets those targets going forward. What was your takeaway from his performance?
Well, and that's the thing about receivers or pass catchers, right? Is they can't do anything unless the ball is thrown to them anyways. So when he's not getting the ball, there's nothing he can do about it. Now, teams have figured him out. Not necessarily they figured him out, but they figured out that he's he's where the offense is going through. So they're going to bracket him. They're going to double cover him. They're going to put their best cornerbacks on him. And that's probably the height of respect you can get as a rookie. You're getting other teams putting their best cornerbacks on him. So again, it goes back to how fine that line is between taking what teams are giving you and taking what you want. And if you're good enough, you take what you want. So it was kind of surprising. I do follow you on Twitter, so I saw your timeline during the game, how upset you were that Brock wasn't getting his targets. But again, if you put yourself in the best position to succeed, you have to put your best players in position to succeed as well. And up and through midway through the third quarter, I mean, it was till the last drive when Jacoby Myers even had a catch. So it was just kind of head scratching all the way around.
What I like about Aiden O'Connell when he's healthy, the ball comes out quick. He's very decisive. He can throw a great out route. He can throw a deep ball. He's perfect for Brock to get him going again because I think he's going to lean on him. Aiden has a goal. I think his goal is to be the starter for this franchise for years to come. At minimum, he should be the backup. So he would want to perform pretty well, and this is the guy who can get him going. If Aiden O'Connell ends up playing in this game, do you like their chemistry better than the other quarterbacks we've seen this year?
Well, they have a little bit more chemistry time together. So, time on task. So it's interesting, though, talking to Aiden a couple of weeks ago before he was injured in Tampa, I had asked him about the rumors that are already out there floating. And this is a guy that's comfortable with being uncomfortable because he going back to high school at Purdue, here with the Raiders, he's never really been the guy, the number one, undoubted, unquestioned starter. So even he said, with all the rumors that are out there floating out, that's just the way he's going to attack his career and keep going forward, is he knows that he's always going to have competition, so that keeps him sharp.
The running game, it just seems like when someone gets going, they get injured. And I was really enjoying this Sincere McCormick run. I thought he was the perfect guy at the perfect time. It's the end of the year. The head coach wants to run the football. With Norv Turner in there with Scott, they're going to be balanced with the running game. I just thought 5 yards a carry, 4.5 would be his way the rest of the year. And then, like everybody else, he gets injured.
That's the tail of the season for the Raiders. I mean, defensively, they're missing 5-6 starters a game every time they're out there. Offensively, they haven't gotten what they wanted out of quarterback. It's been a carousel at running back. It's been unfortunate from that side, but you're right. I mean, we saw this last year towards the end of the year with Zamir White.
Yes.
We thought he was going to be the guy, and then injuries and coupled with ineffectiveness throughout the roster, not just putting it on Zamir, but it's life in the NFL, which again, the bad joke is not for long if you can't really continue to produce and if you're injured. So it's unfortunate for Sincere because he was starting to raise more than eyebrows. He was raising expectations as well.
I was talking about this with Lincoln Kennedy. How do you evaluate this offensive line? I go to PFF and I look at the grades. And then the grades are like my grades were in high school. Sometimes okay, but mostly not. Yeah. And I look at these grades and then, DJ Glades, look at him. He had a good game. And then you look at Jackson Powers Johnson. Well, he had some viral hits and throws, but he didn't have a good game. I'm trying to figure out, as you're the insider and have so much access here, what do you see going forward now that they're playing together more under Joe Philbin? They seem to be a little bit better.
Well, continuity is key, especially on an offensive line. That's how you understand what the person next to you. Obviously you have to know what your job is on the offensive line, but you also have to know what the two guys on either side of you, unless you're a tackle. You have to know what everybody's doing. So with the continuity comes that. And you also have the mistakes of youth and being so young on that offensive line. The way I kind of describe it is they finally settled on an offensive line at least, but it took almost 3/4 of the season to figure it out. So you can only go up from there. And again, when you're talking offensive line, grades are, like you said, it's kind of the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, what are you looking for? What are you doing? Were they supposed to stay on a block that long? It really is, to me, the better an offensive lineman is, the less you notice him.
Nicely said. Paul Gutierrez is our guest. First time I'm speaking with you since Max is out.
Yeah.
Before I get to him as a player, what have you noticed with the leadership? There shouldn't be much of a void because Max is around a lot, but when he's not coming out of the tunnel with the team, what do you expect from the leadership capacity of the captains to pick it up for him?
Yeah, who's got that personality, and you see him running with Max out of the tunnel at the start of games is Jackson Powers Johnson. He's got that mentality. Now, how hard is that for a rookie to accept that mantle and go forward? I think he's got the personality to do it, but you also have to have some sort of a winning pedigree to go there as well. So there would be a void of leadership, so to speak. But again, that's what these last 3 games are going to be for. Not only to try to put your best effort out there if you're a rookie, if you're a free agent, if you're basically auditioning for a new job anyways every time you're out there, especially at this point of the season. So with Max Crosby not being out there, it's an opportunity, really.
Yeah, it is.
And that's the way that I think Antonio Pierce is looking at it as well. And it's it's not been the season that anybody around this organization has dreamed of or anticipated. And yet you got to try to flip it a little bit. And again, I know fans don't want to hear it, and I'm with you on it, but it's an opportunity to show something going forward, which is what we saw last year when they finished 5-4 under Antonio.
Yeah.
3-1 in the division.
Yeah, I think Patrick Spillane also, as he's trying to get a Pro Bowl vote, the coach just interrupted me as we were bringing it up, and he almost jumped out of the chair on Spillane about wanting to get him a Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is you cover this, and there's a fan element to it, and there's a vote amongst the peers. Do you like that process? Because there are guys like him that the rest of the league might not be looking at with the Raiders losing streak, not saying, well, why are we going to put him in the Pro Bowl?
Yep.
The Raiders have lost 10 in a row. That's not the case if you put on the film.
And is the Pro Bowl an individual award? Is it something that's voted on solely by fans? Is it a combination? I mean, to me, as somebody that's covered this team for close to 20 seasons now, and somebody that's followed the NFL, today actually, JT, is interesting. Today is the anniversary of my first ever credential going to a Raider game.
Wow.
Today's December 18th, right?
It is.
1988, and this is how they've elongated the season. I'm going to get back to your question, but this is how far they've elongated the season. It was the season finale of the 88 season. I went to an LA Raider game on my Barstow Desert Dispatch credential and covered that finale because they were playing the Seahawks. The winner wins the AFC West. Seahawks won, unfortunately, for the Raider fans. But today is 36 years ago was the first ever Raider game I went to on a credential. And the season ended today. Now we still got 3 games to go. So it comes back around to there's still 3 more weeks for somebody like Spillane to present his case to the fans, to other people in the league. Mm-hmm. Because to me, he's kind of that quiet yet unquestioned spiritual leader of that defense as the green dot, especially as the green dot for the middle linebacker.
You got your Rebels gear on. They got a new coach. The other coach, Barry Odom, did a nice job. They came up short in the Mountain West. I know you're going to the bowl game, which you're excited about. I think it's an important moment here in this city because the Rebels are legit, but they're going to lose a lot of players. The portal's always there. But getting Dan Mullen, who's a TV guy who got Dak Prescott going. He's the architect of Dak making $60 million a year. And he had a nice run at Florida, and I think he's relevant at this time to recruit young players.
No doubt. And if he's been on TV, they're going to know who he is, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of the battle there, too, in the recruiting. And then he's an offensive-minded guy. The UNLV is going to need a quarterback. They're losing 29 seniors, and like you said, the transfer portal's opening up. So as an alum and as somebody that's, was going to school at UNLV in the early 90s, I never thought I'd say that UNLV was a football school. But it's exciting now that they just need to get the running Rebels up and running again, too.
Wrapping it up with the Raiders, you look at the Jaguars, what are they playing for? Because the fans, you know what they're saying. They're sliding into me and you saying, well, the draft picks everything. They're not going to take a quarterback because they have Trevor Lawrence. But there's Travis Hunter. Yeah. And Travis Hunter winning the Heisman, winning the Bednarik, the Biletnikoff. Freddie was just in town. It's really interesting because the Jaguars, I don't want to say that their coaches are going to be back, but the Wolves are at the door. They're expecting a little bit more for Trevor Lawrence going forward.
And they gave the Jets a heck of a game.
They did, yeah.
Other than the Devontae Adams show, which I know a lot of fans don't want to talk about, but they're playing for pride also. And again, if you're one of the few Raiders who was still on the team, they knocked the Raiders out of Oakland with the last game in Oakland. Jacksonville beat Oakland. So it's, again, not a good memory, but there's some pride, and you look for different angles as a reporter covering this team. But and again, every game is a season unto itself, JT, and that's kind of the way that I look at it, and I would assume that the players look at it that way too.
I will see you Sunday, and I know you're going with the family to New Orleans with your son and your wife, who I know well. Have a great time. Thanks for coming in.
Sounds good. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
You got there. He is. Paul Gutierrez. Appreciate that. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Here's our radio network as we take a look at this now coming through the morning tailgate. Clay Baker, Vince Sapienza, what a great job they do with Vinny Bonsignore. The Rich Eisen Show, as I say, Rich is always Raider friendly from 10 a.m. to noon. I'm on every day, noon to 2. And then we have Q Myers, who does a really good job coming on from 2 to 5 p.m. and Evening Drive, wherever you're listening to that. You can always catch it on the Raiders mobile app. I tell everyone in Raider Nation that one of the greatest things about radio is it's evolved throughout my career. Been doing radio for almost 30 years, 27 years with the Raiders. Is now you can just use your phone and click on the Raiders mobile app. And it's unbelievable. The programming pops right up. Everything's on demand. And a lot of people now watch YouTube on demand. If you work at night, you work mornings, you want to come in, you want to watch these programs. Silver and Black Productions archives everything. They put it up so you can watch it when you want to watch it. I love people watching live, listening to me live. on my YouTube channel, JT the Brick YT, if you can subscribe for free. But however you get our programming, remember, it's always evolving, it's always fresh, and we're working hard to get you to the end of the season. And then the off season is obviously going to be one of the more important off seasons in the history of the Raiders, let alone the modern history of the Raiders coming here to Las Vegas. So it's the holiday season. The Raiders are doing a lot in the community, a tremendous amount in the community along the way. You know, my cause, my cleats, as we were talking about that, great stories at Raiders.com. I'm learning more about the players and their families and the passions and some of the sadness of why they're involved with certain charities because they lost a loved one. I would implore everyone to go to Raiders.com and check that out along the way. So the Raiders are trying to end this streak of losing 10 in a row. They're playing a Jacksonville team that's fighting hard. As Paul just said, they had a really good effort. Mac Jones, the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks have been ugly. Last week he played well. And he lost a big game here at Allegiant Stadium. If you remember the Chandler Jones interception back in the day, that was a high mark in the history of Allegiant Stadium. So he's going to want to come in here and put something up on tape. If it's Aiden O'Connell, he's going to want to do the same thing. And I really think we spent a good, solid portion of this hour talking about the Raiders' young defensive line and what they can do going forward. These guys won sacks. They won strip sacks. They won interceptions. They won tackles for losses. So when fans are saying, what are you playing for? You're playing for that. And I hope that Brock Bowers gets going in this game. You know, my minimum, 10 to 12 receptions, 12 to 15 targets. No excuse in this game. Brock is ready to go, and the Raiders have got to help him get to these milestone statistics because the most important thing is winning. But also you got a young player who has an opportunity to do something great in the history of an organization that's been around 65 years. Can't wait to see the game that Brock has. Thanks to everybody who tuned in live, everyone who's following us on our flagship radio station. We got another hour to go. Levi Edwards will join me here in studio, and everybody who watches this on the Raiders YouTube channel. We appreciate that. Please subscribe and share it with your other friends in Raider Nation who should know everything at Raiders.com either way. For everyone at Silver and Black Productions, I'm JT. Thanks a lot for watching Raiders Rundown. We appreciate it. Raiders home Sunday against Jacksonville. Thanks, everyone. All right, now we're doing radio only, but you'll be able to watch it radio only. How cool was that? Pretty good hour, good guest. Hope everybody enjoyed that. Thanks, everyone. You said Levi 130?
Yeah, unless
Perfect.
you're
Yeah, good. Good, thanks.
I'll escort him myself.
Nice. Bobby, you got me 1, 2, 3? Okay. Dalton Waserman right here at the top. Thank you. How's everyone doing out there? Everyone good?
Merchandise and much more. All memberships are now lifetime memberships. Once a member, always a member. If you bleed
Bobby, I'm gonna get
silver
that
clad,
Virgin
visit
Live reading on some point,
theblackhole.com
okay?
today. That's theblackhole.com.
Every year, thousands of acts perform in Las Vegas, but only one event brings the glitz to the gridiron. This December 27th, the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl is back at Allegiant Stadium. The USC Trojans face off against the Texas A&M Aggies. Join us and celebrate bowl season the Vegas way. Fight on versus Gig 'em, the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. It's the Vegas show on turf. Tickets on sale now at lvbowl.com. I was a 10-year-old boy holding the flashlight for my dad while he worked on an air conditioner for a customer. His name was Duncan Goodrich. He didn't talk much, but there's a certain kind of magic that happens when the son holds the flashlight.
Bobby,
for
you
his
gonna give me a
father.
second
Dad
to
talked me
reset
That
before
was
you
the
call
first
him?
night I held the flashlight for my dad, but it wouldn't be the last. I realized that every time he handed me that flashlight, he was passing the torch. For all your HVAC and plumbing needs, visit us at
Bobby, you gonna let me
Gettle.com.
talk to him in a minute?
GETTL will keep you cool, but it's hard to spell.
License number 0079414, 0079415.
Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner-style lager, delivering a crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirit since 1925.
Raider Nation, your chance to win a $2,500 game day experience is closer than you think. Make your qualifying purchase at any participating terribles and use your app at the register for your chance to win our ultimate Raiders game day giveaway.
You gotta give me a minute to reset before you
Customer will
call.
win a hotel stay, $1,500 shopping spree, game tickets to a Raiders home game, and more. Score! Every day is game day, exclusively at Terribles. Visit Terribles.com for game details.
All right, everyone.
Gaming is the official and exclusive local.
All right. Thanks for sticking around, man. That first hour is more buttoned up for TV and all the stuff we do. And now this is hour number 2.
Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly.
Never miss another show. Stream us live or listen to past podcasts 24/7 at lvsportsnetwork.com. This is Raider Nation Radio 920 AM, KRLV Las Vegas.
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio, your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years. And now, here's JT the Brick.
Welcome back, everybody. It's hour number 2 of the show. First hour was Raiders Rundown on the Raiders YouTube channel. Now it's me, all by myself, still in the building, still at headquarters here. Bobby's back in the studio. We got 2 guests coming up here. We'll talk to Dalton Waserman. He's going to join us in a few moments. He does a great job over at PFF. And Levi Edwards, our Raiders insider, will jump in here in a little bit. So if you want to call in, this is the time to do it. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from you now at 702-365-9200. It's the same thing everybody's talking about around here. Go, go, go. Win, win, win. Play hard. There has been nothing other than that being said in this building since the day I was in Costa Mesa training camp. Nothing's changed other than the record. The Raiders have lost 10 in a row. That goes back to the longest losing streak recently, 2014, when Derek Carr came in and lost his first 10 games. Things turned around. Derek Carr was a really good player, and the Raiders started to win. Raiders were in division titles. The Raiders were in the playoffs once with Carr. But now they're at a point again where they have to stop the hemorrhaging of these losses. But a lot of Raider fans are saying, wait a second. We got a chance for the number 1 seed, or the Giants do. If we win a game, that's going to throw us backwards. And you're right, it is. If the Raiders win a game going forward, or 2, because they can win every one of these games down the stretch. If they do win a game, they're going to go from the 1st or 2nd pick to the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th. And they're not going to get the quarterback without trading up to get him. All right. You've been waiting for me to say that, right? Who had the over-under on that? You've been waiting a long time for me to say that. I'm smarter than you think. I knew that a long time ago. But we have a job every week to talk about the opponent. And the opponent is the Jacksonville Jaguars. So with all that being said, if you're a Raider fan now, you have got to be in a situation. You've got to be in a situation where you're now stepping up and saying to yourself, what are we playing for? Many are saying we're playing for a draft pick. Many are saying they're playing for a draft pick. I get it. I think they're playing to be highly competitive. You can take whatever you want from that. I think they're playing to be highly competitive along the way and step up and play a game where they're angry, they're playing for their future livelihood, they're playing for their friends and family, and they're playing for the jersey and the crest, and they're playing for the Raiders. And I've seen that every time I'm in this building. You know, people have been saying this. Someone clipped me saying that I thought the Raiders lost that I saw was the worst loss. And I did say that. I'm not going to back that up. Raiders flagship host calls Monday's loss worst game I've ever seen. I'll stand behind that. I thought that was one of the worst games I've ever seen. Period. It just had everything that they shouldn't have had, and it came against them. So why not bounce back and play a much better game? Play a better game against Jacksonville. And the record and the game's going to play out a certain way. You know, one of the things that we all don't understand, everybody, is how these games are going to play out. For Raider fans who are really upset and angry and want to lose for the draft pick, not one of them can stand up and say, you know something, the Raiders didn't play hard and they tried to lose. You haven't heard that from anybody. And that's what the Raiders are competing against going forward. Everybody's watching. Believe me when I say everybody's watching, from the owner's box all the way down to the people that are sitting in the front row to sitting in the 400 section in the upper deck. Everybody is looking closely at the Raiders' body language, how quickly they're getting to the football on defense, how crisp they're running their routes, how hard they're running the football. Have you heard anybody complain? Anybody? I have not heard one person complain. Now, do I hear people complain about a blocked punt? Yes. A blocked extra point? Absolutely. Fielding a fair catch at the 3-yard line? Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. A lot of complaining, a lot of people upset about it. But the effort is there. And I've even had people call me and say to me directly, you know something, man, JT, you always talk about how the team's playing hard. What else you got? Well, what else you want me to give you? I don't coach the team. I don't play. I watch the games. I analyze the tape. I interview the coach, and I talk to people. And all that is being done properly. Is it being done perfectly? No. But is everybody doing it with good intent to try to help the team win? Yes. So that's where we're at. And a lot of people feel like we're watching preseason football because there's not a lot to play for. There are jobs to play for. There are jobs to play for, and these jobs are really important. You know why? They're high paying. They bring around a lot of glamour. You become a celebrity when you play professional football, no matter which team you play on. And you go down in history as once a Raider, always a Raider. So there's a lot of that going on right now, and I hope you see it. If you don't see it, I mean, yesterday was really chippy. A lot of people were calling in really upset. I kind of like that type of radio. I like chippy radio. I like fans that got some aggressive attitude towards them. I'm live on the air right now. I don't have a guest, so you should call in because I'm inside headquarters. I'm in the building. I'm here, right down the hallway from the players and the coaches. So let's have your voice be heard on what you expect for this game on Sunday. We are into the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'd like to hear a couple of old school breakdowns, what you want to see. And it's really important for me personally that we talk to fans on the flagship station that want to talk about the team. In a positive light would be great, but if it's a negative light, we're okay with that too, because there's a lot to be critical in. But we want to hear from the fans, because the fans are the most important part about our flagship radio station. They are everything, along with our partners who are fans. A lot of the partners that we have here, Friday, I'm doing a live remote from noon to 2 at La Casa Cigars. You don't have to be a cigar smoker. They got plenty of space outside. Look at the weather today. If you're in Vegas, it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Come on out, sit outside, and check out the show. Make some new friends. A lot of friends are going to be there. That'll be my holiday show before Christmas. That's coming up Friday, noon to 2 at La Casa Cigars there. It's brought to you by Remy Martin, Modelo, Mike, who owns La Casa Cigars. The De Castroverde Law Group will make an appearance. So we're going to have a lot of fun. And if you do like cigars, like I love cigars, you can sit back and just have a stick, talk Raiders football with guys from the Black Hole, and have a good time. So that will be noon to 2 on Friday as we get rolling with that. It's holiday party season. So depending on what you do for a living here, I'm sure you're going to some holiday parties and doing some things, getting some holiday shopping in. If you're doing all that, that should be great. There's a good time of year to celebrate with your family and friends. My sons are home. My oldest son's moving out, getting his own place. I'm proud of him. And my youngest son's home for his final winter break. And if you're a parent of a kid who's graduating from college in May, it's his final winter break. And as a proud dad, I'm not busting his chops. He can do what he wants. Go play some golf, go to the movies, go hang out and enjoy the holidays with the family.
And I miss my parents terribly. They're back in New Paltz, New York, in upstate New York for the holidays before they go back to Naples, Florida, where they live most of the time. So I wish I could be there with him, but we got the Jacksonville game, we have the New Orleans game, and then the final game of the year against the Chargers. I was talking to someone today in LA who said, what happens if the Chargers clinch a playoff spot and they come to Allegiant Stadium and they rest all the starters? I mean, everyone. They play the practice squad guys here. I said, well, we'll see what that happens. Chargers haven't had a lot of luck here at Allegiant Stadium at all. People have been fired from the Chargers for lack of good performance out here. So that game's still going to mean a lot, and it'll mean a lot to Denver and the Chargers down the way. It looks like Patrick Mahomes, as I'm looking at the headlines, he gets a full clear at practice. So Patrick Mahomes is going to be there ready to play. And I didn't think that was a good decision for Kansas City. I thought that they might want to sit him for a week. But Mahomes is a warrior. He's an unbelievable player. And the Raiders are competing for the number 1 draft pick against the New York Giants. Reporting today, the Giants are going to turn back to Drew Lock as the starting quarterback for the Falcons. So Drew Lock will play in this game. I think he's a good player. He really is. He just had a lot of opportunities. Kind of reminds me of Sam Darnold years ago. Just don't get enough opportunities. Lock will square off against the Falcons and their new quarterback, Michael Penix. Michael Penix Jr., who was named Atlanta's starter Tuesday night over the veteran Kirk Cousins. So that's an interesting topic that I want to lead with. Atlanta won the game, and Kirk Cousins is now benched for good. He was awful in that game, but still beat the Raiders. They're going to go with Michael Penix Jr., and that's going to open up an opportunity to go forward for Penix to play the rest of the season, which is what should really happen with a quarterback. Let me jump in and suggest that if the Raiders get a quarterback in this upcoming draft, and the Raider quarterback sat, which would be smart, for the first part of next year, and maybe he starts every game, I don't know. Don't even know who the player could be. But if they do that, and you start to play a player in week 15 or 16 his rookie year, that's okay. Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers didn't get the opportunity to do that. There's some franchises that want to bring a quarterback along very slowly. Others just drop them in, like Caleb Williams. How's that worked out in Chicago? Jaden Daniels playing well. Drake May playing well for New England. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens with Kirk Cousins, because if he wasn't playing so badly, Michael Penix Jr. would not be in the game. But the fact that Kirk Cousins is playing poorly means that he's probably going to get bought out of that guaranteed contract. Because remember, he signed, I think it was $90 million guaranteed, close to $100 million. Kirk Cousins could be the quarterback anywhere on a team that needs a quarterback, such as Las Vegas. Sam Darnold is going to be a free agent. A lot of people wondering if Sam's going to end up staying there when they have J.J. McCarthy, a quarterback that they really like, who had the meniscus tear, and he should be ready to go. And then it brings me to Aaron Rodgers. Oh, yeah, I'm back to Aaron Rodgers again. Aaron Rodgers is having a better season than you think. Very similar to what Russell Wilson was doing in Denver last year. They ran Russell Wilson out of Denver, and his numbers were pretty damn good. And Aaron Rodgers, everybody's been beating him up, including myself, and his numbers are getting really good. And if Aaron Rodgers wants to stay with the Jets, they'll figure it out. If not, he's going to be available. The game that he just had with Davante Adams lit him up. 9 receptions. This is against Jacksonville. 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a 71-yard long touchdown in that game. So the Jaguars are really struggling. They only have 3 wins. And their secondary is one of the worst in football. So Aaron Rodgers and Davante just chewed him up. Jacksonville's secondary has allowed a receiver to have 100-plus yards in 6 games. That's tied for the 4th most in the NFL. And in 2004, Jacksonville's secondary has allowed 11.4 yards of completion. That ranks 31st in the league. 68.58 completion percentage, 28th in the league. And they're giving up the most passing yards a game in the entire league, 264. So with everybody hearing what I just said, doesn't that lead you to believe that Brock Bowers and Aiden O'Connell can have a really big game? Forget the winner or the loss for a second. I want to hear from a fan today, because I'm in the building, who can give me
And you know what we'll do, Bobby? I'm going to give away a $50 Grimaldi gift card. A $50 Grimaldi. You know what you can do with $50 at Grimaldi's? You get a couple of Brooklyn Bridge pizzas. You get a side salad. It's fantastic. I'm going to give away a $50 Grimaldi gift card for the fan. And we'll do this also on Twitter, X, at JT the Brick, who can nail exactly or closest to the stat sheet for Brock Bowers. I'll go first. Brock Bowers is going to have 11 receptions for 117 yards and a touchdown. Where do you stand? Remember in the Price is Right that game, higher or lower? Higher or lower than me? I hope it's higher, but I want to know from you what Brock needs to do in this game. He's about to go over 1,000 yards and break the all-time reception record by a rookie tight end. And the kid he's playing against with the Jaguars, everybody's thinking that, Brock's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. Not so fast, my friend. They have a player in Brian Thomas Jr. who's having an unbelievable season. And he's doing great, and he's putting up numbers arguably better than Brock. So this is going to be fun. Listen to Brian Thomas Jr. Overall, he was drafted 23 overall in this last draft. Brock was 13. He's got 956 yards receiving. That is ninth. Brock is at eighth with 968 yards. They are separated by less than 10 yards here when it comes to it. 12 yards separates Brock Bowers and Brian Thomas Jr. in reception yards. Brian Thomas Jr. has 64 receptions. Brock has 90. Brian Thomas Jr. has 8 touchdowns. Brock has 4. He's a rookie on Jacksonville. You don't think that franchise is saying, the hell with Brock Bowers, let's get this guy the offensive rookie of the year. So I want to know what you think Brock can do in this game and what your tone is like with this, because to walk out of the building the way I did on Monday night and for Brock to only have 3 receptions in that game, I was pretty upset. I walked around and said, that can't happen again. And if you listen to my conversation with the head coach in the first hour, he was pretty worked up about it. He literally looked me in the eyes from 2 feet away and said they're going to get him the ball. And I like that. 702-365-9200 as I'm live from Raiders headquarters as we continue here. We're talking about this game, the future of the Raiders, what you expect for this game. My in-laws live in Jacksonville, and my sister-in-law lives in a town called St. Augustine. It's the oldest city in America, Ponce de Leon. The oldest city in America is St. Augustine, Florida. And I love it there. And I spent a lot of time there, and there's a lot of Jaguar fans there. And I talked to a buddy of mine who said he was willing to come out to this game, but he will not because of the Jaguars' record. Well, they never played here. And the last time that Jacksonville played in Oakland, they beat the Oakland Raiders and closed the stadium down. So they're going to meet some Jaguar fans. They're not a global brand, but they're trying to build it. They're a team that's trying to build a global brand because they want to get to London first. And I've always believed that their owner, Shad Khan, no matter what he says, a distraction. Well, we're going to develop condos on the riverfront down there in Jacksonville. We're going to redevelop downtown. It's a bunch of crap. I've always said on the record that the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars wants to move to London. We eventually are going to have a team that is based in London. Very easy to do. We're playing there all the time now. With bye weeks and travel and how easy it is to travel, the team that plays in London will have their teams play. Other teams come play them in London, and then they'll come to the States to play 2 or 3 games in a row. And they'll stay at the Four Seasons, and they'll practice at other facilities, and all work out fine. And I've always believed that the Jacksonville Jaguars will be known as the London Jaguars. And the fans there will push back and say, well, you don't know nothing, JT. We're redoing the stadium. You don't know what you're talking about. We're doing the Riverwalk down there. No. Shad Khan will leave the second Roger Goodell says, you're the owner that has put in the most work overseas. You're the owner who's played the most games in London. We're going to reward you with the team there. And then you know what they're going to do, maybe? Put another team in Europe. And we're going to have 2 teams in Europe. So it makes the travel easy for all these American teams to travel over there. I mean, watch what's been happening. Watch what's been happening lately with the NFL. Go playing in Sao Paulo, Brazil, playing games now in multiple locations in Germany. They love London. I love London. I love when the Raiders have a road game, not a home game. I love me some London when the Raiders play on the road. You got to kind of get a free trip to Paris out of it. You can go somewhere else. But Shad Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, will eventually move that team there, and everybody will be there. There is a better chance of the Jaguars moving to London than the Oakland A's moving to Vegas. Oh, I said it. I didn't want to say it, but I had to say it. It was low-hanging fruit. I repeat, the Jacksonville Jaguars have a better chance of relocating to London than the Oakland A's do here in Vegas. 702-365-9200. Dalton Waserman joins us from PFF. Dalton, jump on in here. I'm having fun with it, but I'm not really. I always thought that Shad Khan wanted to move to London, and the Jaguars play multiple games a year there. What do you think their end game is with the league in Jacksonville and London?
Yeah, I don't know. It's always hard to tell with the way Roger Goodell's even talking about maybe he wants multiple teams over in either the UK or Europe or something like that, or create a whole Europe division. But no, I mean, it certainly seems like it's something he's at least been eyeing for a long time as a possibility. Maybe he just doesn't feel like Jacksonville's a sufficient enough market. But, it wouldn't shock me even if eventually if they went to some sort of kind of half and half plan first or something like that. I don't know how quickly they would do a full tilt move, but certainly Shad Khan is something he's been looking at for a long time, so it wouldn't be that shocking.
All right, let me ask you another quick question about this number one pick overall and what you think's happening is I'm in Vegas with the Raiders and the Giants have the same amount of wins, 2 wins each, as everybody's diving into the strength of schedule. The Giants' schedule is pretty strong because Philadelphia is in that division. Dallas isn't having a good year, but you look at the Commanders have Jaden Daniels, and the Raiders are out west with Mahomes and the Chargers in Denver that look like they're going to the postseason.
Well, you certainly need a premier quarterback to compete in either of those divisions. And look, I think there's thought to be 2 of them in this draft class, right, between Shedeur Sanders from Colorado and Cam Ward from Miami. And I think if it's the Raiders picking first, they're almost certainly going to go to Shedeur Sanders. There's a lot of connections there. We've seen videos of Shedeur talking to Mark Davis. He's got a connection with Tom Brady as well. And I think, I think it would be the right pick. I personally think Shedeur is the best quarterback in this draft. And then, you talk about the Giants, whether they're picking first or second. We don't necessarily know what they're thinking between the 2 guys, but if they're picking second, I think they would be happy to have Cam Ward.
Yeah. Have you done enough analysis yet or just looking at the difference between Shedeur? We'll have you on later during the draft, and I appreciate when you do come on, but is there a head and shoulders difference between Shedeur and Cam to you?
I think that the thing for me is I think Shedeur is just a little bit safer as a passer, right? I think he's just got such a high level of processing and his ability, his football IQ, his ability to process defenses, I think it's been in an NFL level for honestly the last 2 years. I just think he's got such a great track record. He's played so well in college for 4 years between Jackson State and Colorado that there's an extremely high floor there. I think Cam Ward is super talented. He's a poised leader. He's calm under pressure. He's got an ability to improvise. He's got a little high risk and high reward to him. There's some who are going to feel Ward's ceiling is higher and his arm talent's a little higher than Shedeur, but that does sometimes come with some a few careless turnovers here and there. So I do think it depends on your style a little bit. I think Shedeur is a little bit safer, but they're both really good.
I know a lot of you guys at PFF have been diving into this year for Josh Allen. I think he wins the MVP for an important stat, his rushing touchdowns. Quarterbacks, Joe Burrow's got better numbers than Josh Allen, and I think the MVP usually goes to the quarterback who has the most passing yards and touchdowns. Historically, that's what it is. But then when you see someone like Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen with the rushing yards, and they just distinguish themselves from a pocket passer, what have you seen with Josh Allen in this award?
Well, it's amazing how with Allen and with Lamar Jackson, because I think eventually it's going to come down to those 2 guys, how much Allen is really the center of the offense, right? Whether it is the passing game or the run game. And that is the one thing where Joe Burrow, being a more traditional pocket passer, you don't get that extra dimension in the run game. He can improvise a little bit. But with Allen, you're talking about one, scrambling. He's up there with Lamar as the best scrambler in football. He's so darn hard to tackle, right, at 6'5", 248, giant size. And then, you talk about the design run game, and I think especially in the red zone, I've heard Rex Ryan on ESPN call it the best red zone weapon he's ever seen. And I get it, between the throws into tight windows he can make and just the sheer size and speed that he can play with. So I think he gives you every dimension of what you're looking for in a modern quarterback. And he's carrying a team that is thought not to have really an elite supporting cast. There are a lot of diverse players, a lot of good players, but this is not a Justin Jefferson or a Derrick Henry or a Tyreek Hill or a guy who you can just give the ball to and they can carry it. Allen has to carry that entire burden, and he does it as well as anybody.
What are you seeing with Lamar Jackson going forward here? He dropped off in the MVP race. We're not talking about him as much as Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, and we just spent time on Josh Allen. With the schedule coming up here and the games they have in front, I've been watching AFC North on Hard Knocks. Do you expect him to be explosive down the stretch?
I do, and honestly, there hasn't really been a point this year where he hasn't been explosive, except maybe the strange loss to the Raiders game, way early in the season. But I think Lamar and Allen end up 1-2 in this race, and Saquon Barkley's floating around there. But these two guys, they're having an all-time great season. You talk about Lamar having 34 touchdowns and 3 interceptions as a guy who everybody, they're like, oh, when is the passing going to catch up to the running? Well, it's caught up. He's one of the elite passers in the league, and I know they were playing the Giants this past week, but the quality of the throws he was making against the Giants this week, unreal, as good as any quarterback in football. So I think it's going to be a fun debate, down the stretch here between Allen and Lamar, but Lamar's having another all-time great season, which just seems to be a consistent thing with him now.
Finally, with Philadelphia, you think they quieted all the noise with the media and what's happening with A.J. Brown? And I think the coach is always peppering the bench and the fans. And I don't know. I've been on the radio my whole career, and I know the difference between Philly fans, Boston fans, New York fans. If you give these Philly fans red meat on WIP and on radio there, they're going to take it. And this is a lot of chatter for a team that has such a good record in Saquon Barkley. Will the noise calm down now that they just won the game and got AJ going?
Well, it sure feels like the noise will never calm down in Philly, right? Those people are never satisfied. But no, I think with a lot of noise comes it's because of the high expectations of this team, right? You look at the Lions' injuries and everything that's going on there, and the way the Phillies rounded into form through a 10-game win streak. They're considering themselves the favorite to win the NFC, and I think they're tired of being disrespected by anybody within Philly or even outside of Philly who believes they can't do it. And I think it was very much, about specifically quieting the noise with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. What they showed in this game against Pittsburgh is that an elite defense, if we need to throw the ball and we can't just lean on Saquon Barkley, we can win that game. And that's really the last dimension that had to come together. Now we'll see if they can stack weeks, week in and week out, and then against playoff teams. But look, this team, honestly, right now, they look just as good as they did 2 years ago when they lost to Kansas City in the Super Bowl. And it would not shock me at all now to see them back in and get another shot at that.
Dalton, what are you writing about? What are you podcasting about? What can we send all our listeners to?
Well, it's PFF.com with all our written content from myself and all our great analysts, NFL, college betting, fantasy, anything you need. Big thing for me right now on the PFF College Football Show on YouTube, we got our playoff previews up last night. I think this first round of these playoffs is going to be fantastic. These home stadiums and the entire college football playoffs is going to be great. And then, as always, on Monday afternoons, I'm on the PFF NFL Review Show with Trevor Sikkema on our NFL channel.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you coming on with me. Thank you so much.
Of course, appreciate it. Big time.
All right, there he is, Dalton Waserman joining us here as we continue on. 702-365-9200. And look, I'm going to be mixing in a lot of other Raider talk along the way. When we have an opportunity to talk about the Raiders, we're going to do that. That's what I do. That's why I'm in the building today, when we can talk about other teams and add some of that content in, the type of content that you want to hear. You're all NFL fans, and on certain days we'll have more content with other teams after the Raiders season comes to an end. But now it's head down for Jacksonville. Virgin Hotels Las Vegas has your plans for Christmas and New Year's Eve. Cassie Beach House is your place for that special dinner and celebrations. For New Year's entertainment, the Shag Room is hosting a live performance with the M80s, their high-energy stage show and set list. It's a blast from the past with the most iconic music over the decades. Whether you're a child of the 80s or just craving a taste of that neon-soaked, Virgin Hotels Las Vegas will bring you there and back. Make your holiday plans now and ring it in right. Virgin Hotels Las Vegas, proud partner of the show. Man, I love being in this building. The access today to the head coach, Lincoln Kennedy. Levi Edwards will join us coming up on the other side. So if you want to jump in, get in a phone call before Levi comes in, you can easily do that, right? Everybody's awake. Everybody knows I'm in the building. Everybody should be excited. Everybody watching on YouTube have been there for an hour and 33 minutes. We call them the bricklayers because they're there for me all the time.
And make sure you're there for us too. When we come back, Levi Edwards in studio on the flagship of the Silver and Black. Woo!
Again, Mark Davis said he didn't want to talk about it. He'll evaluate.
Yeah, so I'm getting blown up because an article came out and said it was the worst game I've ever seen. JT the Brick at Raiders Beat. RaidersBeat.com. Raiders Beat. They love clicking my show. They love clipping me, man. They love clipping me. I'll be right back, everyone. Levi's going to come in. Right. Oh. What time are you out here? I'm done? No, I get to figure out for Harry? Oh, good. Good. What's happening, everybody? All right, we'll keep it here for Levi, and then we'll bail. Yeah, I'm getting clipped. You see that, Fabian? They clipped me, man. I mean, I don't think I'm wrong, right? I thought it was one of the worst games I've ever seen.
Where can you find jewelry, art, vintage clothing, vintage kitchenware, gifts, and antiques? They're all available at the Las Vegas Antique Alley Mall. The Antique Alley Mall is the finest collectible store in town. We have over 50 vendors and 12,000 square feet, so there's something special for everyone. Come find that unique holiday gift this season at the Antique Alley Mall at 1126 South Main Street in the Las Vegas Arts District. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, shop the Antique Alley Mall.
Tequila Comisario was developed in the relentless pursuit of perfection with a deep passion for agave. It's the most awarded tequila. You'll immediately notice its beautiful packaging, and after just one sip, you'll experience how smooth it is. It's the Ferrari of tequila, the single highest quality. 100% all-natural handcrafted Comisario tequilas, Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo. Tequila Comisario, a proud partner of the JT the Break Show.
No more compromises. It's time to experience the luxury, safety, and performance of a Volvo from Finley Volvo Cars, Las Vegas. Right now, save $2,400 on all remaining 2024 models, like the XC60 and XC90, plus rebates and incentives. That's right. This month, save an additional $2,400 in addition to Volvo rebates and incentives on all remaining 2024 models. Visit the new Finley Volvo showroom on Rainbow in the 215 for life's journey. See store for details. Restrictions apply.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.
Yeah, I thought they were relentless. I thought, played with good technique, good fundamentals, set an edge, really difficult task, with that offensive line, that running back, because he can hit you at every angle. But I thought for the most part, guys were getting off blocks. And then I thought the pass rush, we want to be disruptive, not just with sacks, but the pressures, being around the quarterback, making him uncomfortable. I thought you saw that last night as well.
Jose Antonio Pierce coming up Monday night. We're brought to you by Raising Cane's. Have you checked out that menu? Hand-dripped, breaded chicken cooked to order. Be a Caniac. Check out Raising Cane's. They are a proud partner of our show. They're also a proud partner of UNLV. And how about that? The Rebels are playing in a bowl game. Paul Gutierrez, who joined me at Raiders headquarters, is on a flight at 3:30 to go see UNLV play. And I'm sure it's going to be catered by Raising Cane's, proud partner of the Rebels and Raider Nation Radio. And here is Levi Edwards, who joins me weekly in studio. Good to see you ahead of the holidays.
Good to see you.
Let's jump in. Monday night was tough because special teams had breakdowns, and we don't want to see that because we have an excellent kicker and an excellent punter. If there's not a breakdown in protection, they're usually going to have big days.
For sure, and really those two block punts, they definitely resulted in points, which means that it's something that just can't happen. And something that's very unusual. I believe A.J. Cole at this point in his career is probably top punter in the league. Definitely top 3. So just really peculiar day, I would say, just in terms of even the block, mixed extra point, just strange watching that game from a special teams perspective.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that because of a couple of things that are going on. Number one, you can't have mistakes like that. And normally when it comes to protection, when you put in younger players, and I don't have the breakdown, probably you do, of who's playing and blocking on special teams compared to the starting offensive line and all that, but there's been a lot of turnovers and injuries on this team. So I'm sure there are players who are mixing and matching, but as I talked about it earlier with Lincoln Kennedy and some others, they saw the block against Pittsburgh, and clearly Atlanta looked at the tape and did the same thing. So it was on tape already that the Raiders showed that malfunction and that communication breakdown. Another team watched tape, just like other teams are watching Jack Jones getting beat on an up and out, and they're saying to themselves, well, let's do it again, and they got to clean that up.
Yeah, that was honestly for a day that Kirk Cousins didn't really have the best day.
Not at all.
But I give him credit for watching tape on that play because obviously Jack Jones has about 4 or 5 career pick sixes, and I believe 3 or 4 of them are on jumped screen routes. So with that being said, why not try to, see if he bites in the pump fake, go deep on London, still going straight. So really, he just watched film, did his job, and Jack bit on it like he would have expected to. And definitely a lapse just in terms of, Jack just trying to be a little too instinctual, trying to make the big play, and it just didn't work out. So really I think the defense honestly had a pretty good day overall, but you really just got to trust the game plan and just do your job.
Levi Edwards joins us. We appreciate him from the digital team. The stat that jumped out at me, I'm not just talking Jags Raiders. I'm talking in the entire league. Last week, Brenton Strange had 11 receptions, Brian Thomas Jr. 10. They became the first tight end wide receiver duo in the NFL to catch 10 passes each in a game in nearly 2 years. The last pair to do it were the Vikings' T.J. Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson in Week 16 of 2022. I mean, mind-blowing stat because of the Raiders. Let me get back to the Raiders. If Devontae didn't demand a trade, you'd have Devontae and Brock. Okay, Devontae's out. He had a monster game against this team. You can have Jacoby getting 10 and Brock getting 12 any game you want going forward, especially with teams like that. So I can't believe this doesn't happen that often. And the Jaguars, with their two-headed monster at running back and a really good young wide receiver and Trevor Lawrence coming back, they got a core of special players on this team that can make plays.
For sure. I was not sure about Trevor Lawrence coming back. I didn't know that if that's news or not. I was expecting Mac Jones to continue to be the starter. However, they have talent, and that's the tricky thing about this Jags roster is they're a team that have been in playoff contention for the past few years. You look at their roster, they have a lot of really good players. It just has not been clicking. So when you look at them defensively, I believe they have pretty solid safety in Cisco. They have a really good edge rushing duo with Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. This has really been the year that you've seen Trayvon Walker look like the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. The guy that had all his potential coming out of Georgia, and you didn't know how it was going to pan out. So it's going to be a really tough day against what I would consider a fairly stout Jaguars defense. I think that they have a couple of issues here and there within the secondary. However, with Brock Bowers doing his thing, if you kind of are able to put your number 1 corner on him and kind of limit him, I think that gives the Raiders a couple of problems, as you've seen with a lot of defenses do recently. So definitely they're in a very tricky situation of, having a lot of key pieces, a lot of talent. Brian Thomas, he's one hell of a receiver, a guy that was he's a first-round pick, so you can't say he was underlooked or undervalued coming out of college, but when you have Malik Neighbors and you have Jaden Daniels in that offense taking all the headlines, people forget about Brian Thomas. So he's come out and he's been the player that I thought he could have been. A lot of people just weren't, putting him in that upper echelon of receivers.
Much better stats than Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
Who is just chirping in the locker room and being a distraction and talking about things he shouldn't be talking about. And this kid in Jacksonville, in a much smaller media market, is putting up better numbers than him.
Yeah, he's actually 12 yards. So the 2 top pass catchers amongst rookies this year is Brock Bowers, and then 12 yards behind Brock Bowers is Brian Thomas. He also has 8 touchdown catches, which is the most of any rookie this season. He's really been having a great season. Definitely the player that I thought he could be coming out of college.
Right. Levi Edwards is here. You could watch him on my YouTube channel, JT the Brick YT, and see he's got one of the coldest Cadillac hats that I've ever seen. So when you walk in and you wear a lot of silver and black here because you're at work, you work in this building, man. That Cadillac hat, is that new but old school or old school old that you just kept clean?
It's a new old school hat. It's something that I just got online. I think it was off of Hibbett Sports or something like that. I still got the silver and black on right here. I always am going to rep the brand. But yeah, I'm an old man at heart. I love, I just recently purchased a Cadillac a couple of months ago. And growing up, my grandfather, God rest his soul, he had multiple Cadillacs. And I just remember growing up sitting in this back seat just of his land yachts, just cruising. And I think that's why I've adopted the love for it.
It's interesting you say that. I married into my wife's family, and they're a huge Cadillac family too. And my father-in-law has this thing called the Quonset hut. It's a place where you store a lot of stuff. And he's got a Cadillac that has only like 3,000 miles on it, and they refurbished it. And it's perfect. And they didn't drive it a lot. And there's just something about Cadillacs, man, in this country that's different. My father grew up with a Cutlass and a Catalina and old school cars. But the Cadillac, you can't go wrong. A lot of people now think of a Cadillac as they think of an SUV, right? I think of the sedan.
Yeah, no, I'm a big sedan guy. Even when I was in the car market trying to look for stuff, I tried out a couple of crossovers. I'm just not a crossover guy. I'm not an SUV guy. I like a nice boxy sedan. And I'm a wide guy, short, stout, wide guy. So I need a wide sedan, that I can have a little room in. And I think, the Cadillac, they come out with some really nice big sedans, and I really appreciate them just the way they ride.
I've spent a lot of money on cars. When I was a stockbroker at 21, I leveraged myself. I bought a Porsche. It's all in my book, The Handoff. If you want to buy my book, The Handoff, it's all there.
Okay.
And now we're talking about so many years later, I have an electric vehicle, and I don't go to the gas station anymore, and it's changed my life. It's like driving. The way I describe it, it's driving. I play golf a lot. I wish my scores were better. But when I drive a golf cart, I'm driving an electric vehicle here, and then I pull up here and I plug it in. And then I come out and it's at 100%.
When's the last time you went to a gas station?
Oh, you're going to get me in trouble with my wife, because my wife has a gas vehicle, and I should fill her vehicle more often. But I'm always driving the electric vehicle because now that I'm used to it, I've said this, and I mean this to everybody out there. I don't care what you drive. You like a great legendary car. We have multiple cars in my house. My kids, but once you stop paying state taxes, okay, it's very important because you're a young man, you're going to make a lot of money. And once you stop paying for gasoline and state taxes, you will never go back. I've said that before. That isn't get off my lawn guy. You'll catch me in a nightclub at my age, and you'll catch me wearing my rodeo drip, as you know.
Yeah.
I do it all.
I've seen the cowboy
I know
brick.
you've seen it, cowboy brick. But when you stop paying for gasoline, I don't care what vehicle you got. I'm not here to plug this group or that. And you get it out of your life, and then you get state taxes out of your life, you'll never go back again. That's why I tell people that move to Southern Nevada or they move to Florida or move to Texas. Once you get used to it and you look at your check and your life and you say, oh my God, they're not taking my money, that I don't want to give them that money because you're already paying federal taxes.
True.
Right? So I'm trying to help you business-wide. You're already paying sales tax, which is enormous on everything you buy.
Yeah.
Right? There's a tax on everything. Once you get rid of a gasoline payment and state taxes and you get used to it, it's really cool.
So what you're trying to tell me is I should get the Cadillac Lyriq, the EV. The EV Cadillac is my next vehicle.
I'm telling you, as a younger man, keep your bills down. The other thing, man, and someone better clip this. They clip, people are clipping me today. Raiders Beat is clipping me saying it was the worst Raider game I've ever been to. I'm getting blown up. It's going everywhere.
They must have not went to the 3-0
No,
Vikings game.
I'll say this, and I'll stand behind what I said. I thought the 3-0 Viking loss was a better game than Monday night because that 3-0 game, we didn't have 2 blocked punts, a block kick, and a safety. I don't recall that. That game was just a game that was played in a phone booth from the 20 to the 20. Remember that game? I was sitting in that game, if you recall, as a season ticket holder. I wanted Jimmy G in the game late because at the end of the game, remember Joshua Dobbs, Nick Mullins?
They put in Nick Mullins.
And I said, well, we could have put in Jimmy, not to win the job and to change everything, just to play the last 8 minutes.
Just to get across the halfway mark?
Yeah, we just needed a field goal. So that game was just a game that was tough. It was physical. No one could move the ball. But this game was just sloppy, really sloppy game. And that disappointed me because the reason why I was so bitter about the last loss was because we didn't check the box for Brock. We played sloppy on special teams, which I think special teams is a strength of the team. And then Desmond Ridder, a guy I've been championing. I've wanted to see him play, as you know, as we sit down.
For sure.
He didn't play well. And if he did play well, then I'd have a different topic this week. I'd be like, wait, why bring back Aiden? Aiden might not be 100%. Let Desmond play again. But I don't think he deserves to play again after that performance, at least this upcoming week.
Well, I think Aiden, just based on the sample size that we saw in Kansas City, really just, while he's been here, obviously a more accurate quarterback. I think with Ridder, he just gave mobility, and it was nice. Not gonna lie, there was a couple of times in the Falcons game, it was nice, pocket claps, and he was able to, figure out a way to kind of run, get, first down or 8 yards here and there. That's nice from a quarterback. However, if you give Aiden time in the pocket to really cook and do his thing, he's proven that he could be more accurate of a quarterback. And obviously with him coming back from this bone bruise and, going up against a solid, I would say solid Jags defensive line, it's going to come down to, really how the offensive line holds up and give him enough time to really make some throws and find Brock open, find Jacoby open.
Yeah, it sounds like a key to the game. I want to wrap this up. The Raiders are not tanking. I repeat, they're not tanking, but they've lost 10 in a row. What is the key to this game? What could be the difference between a Raiders win and a loss?
Really just play hard. Really just play hard, play physical. Know what you're doing. There's a lot of youth on the field. There's a lot of guys that have been lost, and really just those guys are going to have next man up mentality and really just know their job, play with passion. I know it's very cliche to say, and obviously running the ball, that would help. Sincere's out, Zamir is out, so you're going to have Madison and Amir really take up a huge load in terms of, making sure the ground game is going smooth so you can open up the passing game for Aiden and for him to do his thing. And that's really what it comes down to. I think the Jags offensively, I think the defense is going to be able to play well enough to really limit them, especially if Mac Jones does play. And, granted, Brian Thomas is having a great season, still a rookie as your number one option. They have a lot of people out. So really it's going to come down to the offense to really put some points on the board.
Thank you, Levi. I'll see you at the game on Sunday.
Most definitely.
There he is, Levi Edwards. We appreciate him from our digital team as I am live at Raiders headquarters, brought to you by Tequila Commissariо. Man, Gavin Maloof was right because he's a Raider fan from my years with him with the Golden Knights. Before that, with the Palms. The Maloof family means a lot to us. Tequila Commissario, the Blanco, the Añejo, the Reposado. It'll be the best tequila you've ever had. Give it a try, Tequila Commissario.
It's
The morning tailgate.
I'm not putting anything past Brock Bowers. The Raiders are just going to have to figure out a way to beat what I think is going to be airtight coverage now the rest of the way.
I do think that he's.
Thanks, everyone. That was a good show,
weeks.
man. We've been
That
on
being
for an
said,
hour and
as the
53
years
minutes.
progress
Thanks to
and
everyone who
quarterback
joined us
position does
today.
get resolved,
Great
then I don't think
bleeping
that's gonna
job.
I agree.
Thanks
What
to the
Devontae said,
bricklayers, the
50-50
diehards,
ball,
man. I can't
50-50
thank you
ball
enough.
for me.
You mean
I think the
everything
same
to me.
holds true for Brock Bowers.
The morning tailgate. Weekdays at 7 a.m.